Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights. I am your host, Dearjames, and my incredible co-host, the Lady Jacqueline, is off this week. So, as we begin this third week of September, this bridge month, what an incredible week it is, energetically, astrologically, seasonally, all of these things. It's really a powerful month. Transition month and moment. So we're going to jump into, there's a lot here. I'm going to do my best to go through it with you all. As you all know, if you are joining us, please put in the comments where you're joining from, do a shout out, and of course throughout the broadcast, put in your comments, put in your questions, and I will answer any questions and comments from an intuitive standpoint, listening to the unseen. And we will go through this really incredible month of harvest, this week especially. And it's very interesting. You remember that when we started with September, and welcome Alicia, wonderful to see you from Los Angeles. Elizabeth, hello from France. Powerful week. So when we started September, and they talked about it as a bridge month, and they made us aware, and they made me aware, of the original calendar, pre-Gregorian calendar. And so, of course, September, the 9, but the 9 is a 7. And so it's very interesting. So they started us off with 7. Last week was 8. And then they kept saying to me 9. And I sometimes, as I'm sure you all do, when you're listening intuitively and everything, you're like, are y'all just messing with me? Are you pulling my leg? Is this really 9? And of course it is Gregorian, it is the 9, but it kept coming over back again, as simple as 9. And so 9 it is, and 9 it truly is. And you will see, because this week, by the way, and let me jump into this really quickly. This week, so coming up Thursday/Friday, so 9/22/23, if you're in the West Coast, if you're kind of in the anything west of Europe and everything, it's going to occur on 9/22. It is the LIBRA equinox. It is the autumnal in the northern hemisphere equinox, and in the southern hemisphere it is the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. That's taking place roughly 6:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1:04 Greenwich Mean Time, 1:04 in the morning a.m. So it's on the 23rd. We're going to address the Sabian symbols that go along with the snapshot of the astrological chart at that moment, that demarcation of the equinox. Right behind that, right following that, on Sunday, on 9/25, is the Libra new moon. You're going to see how that symbol for the sun and moon. They're conjunct, so a new moon is the sun and moon are always conjunct. You're going to see how that symbol is following the symbols, follows the symbols of the equinox. And right after that, the next day, 9/26, Monday, is Rosh Hashanah. It's the Jewish New Year. Followed a week later on October 5th with Yom Kippur. And there's importance about this. So you're going to see how this all comes together. So, and Anne, hello, everyone. She's also joining us from France. And hello, Kelly Marie. Wonderful to have you all here. From Dogwood Shores, Tennessee. I have family from Tennessee, so it goes back to my roots. And Jennifer's just jumping off with, crazy darn time. Could you please ask the unseen to stop yelling at my brain? Well, it's a very interesting thing. They're doing a lot of yelling because this is that bridge month. It's like the bell ringing, the bells tolling, they want your awareness. They want your consciousness. They want everyone to awaken. Because again, we're in one of two places, one of two worlds, one of two destinies. And we are either awakened, open, surrendering, flowing, or we are in, that 6-year conflict. We are fighting, struggling, negotiate, the ego mind, right? It will beg, barter, steal, negotiate, delay. It will do whatever it can, in essence, to avoid the inevitable. And the inevitable is your knowing. So let's jump into this. So yes, they want you to stop screaming. So let's just jump into 9. And by the way, today's date, 9/21/2022, becomes an 18, which becomes a 9. So we have double 9s. And because the main theme today is 9, triple 9s. So you have these triple 9s. And I want to go into what the 9 means. And it says, and this is also biblically, so I always often look to, from a spiritual place, what's the ancestry? What's the ancient Hebrew? What does the symbology of these things mean? And the number 9 is used 49 times in Scripture. It symbolizes divine completeness or conveys the meaning of finality. And so you can see, and it talks about the fact that Christ died at the 9th hour on the day, which is 3 p.m. So it's the 9th hour. Today, 21. 2 and 1 is a 3. So to make way of the salvation open to everyone, there's the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, which I mentioned at the top of the hour, is the only one of God's annual feast days of worship that requires believers to fast for one day. This special day, considered by many Jews to be the holiest of the year, begins at sunset on the 9th day of the 7th Hebrew month. Guess which month is the 7th Hebrew month? September. So, and thus, Yom Kippur is on the 5th of October. And then lastly, it also mentions the number 9 also represents the fruits of God's Holy Spirit. So the fruits of the Holy Spirit, which are faithfulness, gentleness, goodness, joy, kindness, forbearance, love, peace, and self-control. So there's this, and they literally said to me, when they said 9, it was the symbol of divine completeness. They've been talking to us right at the first when they started this the 1st of September with us, was about the harvesting of souls, represents completion or divine fulfillment. That which awakens serves. So to Ian's comment about yelling in my brain, because that which awakens serves. Serves a higher purpose, serves a higher calling, serves a higher way, a higher path, and the opening to that. That which transcends all, that which transcends all that is, all that came before, moving beyond time. And that the number 7, which is playing this foundational role, because remember, it's taking us back to where we began. They've said all along, we're going back to where we began, but an octave higher. We didn't begin with the Gregorian calendar. We didn't begin with Gregorian time. It was a lunar calendar. It had 10 months of 3, and then it moved to 12 with 30 equal days, 360. We're now at 365. So imagine that this entire, and know that the axis of the Earth, right, isn't directly up. It wobbles. It leans 23.5 degrees. So imagine we are 23.5 degrees, quote unquote, off center, out of alignment, off of perfection. So we're going back to where we began, an octave higher. The 7 plays this foundational role. And 9, though, as you can see, is this divine completeness, finality. It's a culmination. It's a completion. And so as we move through this, they said to me then, the closing of one door and the opening of another. And I want to bring up this quote, and it's from Revelations 3:8, and it says, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. And so this is very much talking about the fact that there is, so after this divine completeness and this, the harvesting and the finality of things, there is an open door. There is a new. And we can see this within our own lives, our own, micro, macro, right? So we often hear this where one door closes, another one opens, or where one shuts a door, a window opens. There's always an opening, a way through. So in our own individual lives, we can see that the closing of one door and the opening of another. So the unseen is saying there's going to be, quote unquote, the closing of a door, the end of a way, the end of an era, a time, an order of things. And the new order begins, which is the open door. And it cannot be shut. The only one that can open the door and shut the door is Source. So it's in essence divine. It's part of the completion. It is part of the when they're saying the ongoingness, I know that's not necessarily a word, however, but it doesn't mean that we continue with the way things are. It means that literally the old way, the old order ends. It's complete. We've been there, done that. We're not going back. And look at the current day. I just read the headline before I came on the show, where there's, in essence, saber rattling about possible nuclear use by a country against others. Remember that from World War II, that's what in essence ended the war, the use of a nuclear weapon. To say enough is enough. Stop. This, in a sense, is that history repeats itself per se. However, this is not the end of something that's being saber-rattled. It's an attempt to begin something. And humanity is saying, no more, never again, not for us. So you can see the closing of one door, the opening of another. Then they said, and again, today's the 21st, right? And they said the luck hyphen auspiciousness of the day. And then they gave me the number 21. And they said, and then you can see 3 times 7, 21, threes, the 21, 3. It was the 9th hour, which was 3 p.m. So you can see the Trinity. And so they spoke to this, and the luck and the auspiciousness of the day. And when they mean that, they don't mean just the literal day. It's really the luck and the auspiciousness of the day, meaning of the time, of the moment. Because again, as we align our will, thine will, which am I aligning with that? And you'll see how that plays out, because it's one of 3 wills that are at play. And I'll tie this back together for you. But they're talking about the luck and the auspiciousness of the day, and the day representing this moment in time, and how it's a 21, 3 sevens. Then they said, seeing is believing, ... an inside job. And what they mean by that is, seeing is believing as an inside job is about our knowing. It's what we know. It's not what the mind is telling us. It's not what the chaos in our world is showing us. We can set all of that aside and just simply listen. Seeing is believing. It means that because we know there's something greater, we know there's something more, we know there's a new door opening, we know there's the way, it's the arc of destiny is forward, and they're saying we are the ones that usher in that new day. So you can see, so seeing is believing. It's to know it, and that is internal. It's an inside job. It doesn't matter the craziness. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. It's not that we don't see it. It's not that we're not consciously aware of it. Yes, and. There's an and. And seeing is believing. It's having a higher faith in something. Next, they said, new beginnings abound. Look all around you, with an exclamation point. And this was very interesting because, of course, immediately, at least for me, immediately, you think externally. Look all around you. Yes. However, new beginnings abound. Look all around you. It's also, the image that they give me is one where you're standing, it's internal, you're standing inside, and you're, in essence, going counterclockwise around, and you're seeing all the new beginnings that abound. It's all the things that you see within. It's a knowing that you can see within that are new. That new beginnings abound. We can call it in this moment, because remember, it's about that reality. I'm going to bring that quote up. When we suspend the reality we are in, or believe we are in, a new reality emerges. And so they're saying here, so one can say in my imagination, in my mind's eye, in my fantasies, I see a new world, a new way, new beginnings, and they're all around me. It's that same thing, because those imaginings, if you will, become our new reality. They are the new. And so, because it's taking us there, so they're asking us to look, and it's number 4. And it's very funny. We talk about it's very funny. They had me today do 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D. And it's interesting. This new beginnings abound. We talk about being in a 3D reality. The 4th dimension, 4D, the 4th dimension is where we precipitate from. Nikola Tesla, a couple thousand patents under his name. He never once built a prototype of anything. He imagined it in his mind in the 4th dimension. And when he had, quote unquote, worked it out, tested it, whatever. He literally went from that space to the actualization of it, the literal manufacturing of it, and it worked. You can read about this. It is a truism. He never once built a prototype. It just came from the fourth dimension. Whoa! But before it came from there, he was doing the works. So here this is new beginnings abound. Look all around you. Look within. Look all around you. Because they're coming, you're precipitating them from the fourth dimension. When we go back, I'm going to show you again. There's so much to cover here. You know, the Four of Cups again, remember, and there's the Soma. The Four of Cups, it's the cup in the higher dimensions, the higher realm. You can see that cup coming from the ether, from source. And the person is looking downward. They're looking at what we know. They're looking down at what we've used before. And it's not working. Things aren't progressing the way we would like them to. He's pouty, he's got that pouty face. And of course, the star is the soma in the cup. It is the wisdom. It is the effervescence. It is everything. And here it is 4D, right? It's a 4D moment. They're saying what we're moving to is a higher octave. What we're moving to, the way to, is a la Nikola Tesla, precipitating in the fourth dimension. See it in your mind's eye. This is how it's coming together. Work it, work it, work it. And then it delivers. So, and lastly, they said, which was the fifth 5E about changes, and they said finality, completion, a total eclipse of the heart. So what that means is, remember, 9 symbolizes divine completeness, finality. They're saying finality, completion, the old way, the old order of things goes away. A new order emerges. And it's a total eclipse of the heart, meaning go back to the ancient Egypt. When you passed, they weighed your heart, your soul, your heart against the weight of a feather. So in essence, this total eclipse of the heart is about what's in your heart, what's in your center. Where are you? Are you arcing forward, destiny? Are you arcing forward? Are you bringing in the new? Are you embodying the new? Or are you cleaving to the past, to the old order of things? Whichever one you're in is the one you're going to experience, and it is the one that you're going to usher in for the next period of time. 2 different worlds, 2 different ways, 2 different experiences, so forth. So, Tina, welcome from Seattle. Thank you for joining us. Debbie as well, Debbie Harris. Debbie's mentioning, I'm part of a group, and they mentioned something is supposed to happen on September 24th. And so you can see this is an action-packed moment, day. The luck and auspiciousness of the day. And the equinoxes, remember, they denote, it's like the Libran scales. It is equinox, equal day and night. So that's what's coming up on Thursday, Friday, 22-23. Autumnal in the northern hemisphere, vernal in the southern hemisphere. This absolute harmony and balance of day and night, the length of them. Then you can see in between, the 24th, as Debbie's mentioning, the 25th, the Libra new moon. And very interesting for me right now where I am located, Mountain Time, it's 9:23. That number, those numbers, 9:23, have been huge. And so you can see this 9:23, that this emerges, again, it's delivering us. This whole month, as Ann started at the beginning, this whole month, wake up, time to prepare, because what comes after this is new. The choices we make in our day-to-day lives, it's either of the new or it's passing away. It's of the old. So These new beginnings abound. They're all around. They're here for us. So let's dive in, because it is really quite, and one last thing I want to do is, before we move into these Sabian symbols, because they're just, and you're going to see how what I've been talking about is literally mirrored in these Sabian symbols. And the Sabian symbols, there's one per degree, 360 symbols. And in essence, what you do, what I look at is I look at the snapshot, an astrological chart of the Libra equinox, the Libra new moon. And it'll tell you that the sun is at this degree, the moon is at that degree, so forth and so on for all the major planets and so forth. And then you go and look to see what's the corresponding Sabian symbol. And in order to do that, you advance the astrological degree by 1 degree. So if it's 4 degrees Libra, you look at 5 degrees Libra for the Sabian symbol. That's how you, and then they tell you, these Sabian symbols tell you a story of the time or the moment. And you can do this often. You can do an orrery chart. An orrery chart is where you ask a specific question. And so at the time you're asking the question, you take a snapshot of the astrological chart. You can look at this with your birth chart, your natal chart. At the time you were born, what were the degrees of the symbols, of the planets and everything, and then go and see, correspond them to the Sabian symbols, and see what story it tells you. It's fascinating. It's incredibly on point. And again, these symbols were done, her last name is Wheeler. She was a medium, and she sat down and they just handed her cue cards, one after the other in random order. And she saw what corresponded to the degree, the sign in the degree, and then it was correlated by a gentleman that was working with her. Fascinating. So, and Brigitte is saying, I'm going to have that song in my head now, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Yes, and I did too. It was Bonnie Tyler, Eclipse of the Heart. And the beauty of the words too, right? Once upon a time I was falling in love, now I'm only falling apart. A total eclipse of the heart. This process is about falling apart. Remember, 23, splitting apart. We are splitting apart from the old ways. We are letting go of what no longer serves us. We are moving to a higher state of being, a higher octave of being. And so, like the snake that sheds its skin, it's not always an easy process. What makes it more palatable, more easy, is how quickly do we surrender? How quickly do we align and flow with it? How quickly do we let go of the past or the stories we've been telling us, or the masks, the identities, and how earnestly do we look at them? Meaning ourselves. How earnestly do we look at ourselves? To say, and look at the people in our lives, right? We can easily accept the love, right? When people are demonstrating love, showing us love, we accept it readily most times. When it's deep challenge, there's, put the hands up, ooh, I rebuke thee, because they're playing a role that we ask them to play, as painful as it is, for us to see something in ourselves. So here, this total eclipse of the heart. Once I was in love, now I'm only falling apart. Yes, because in good times it's easy. In the challenge, in the transition, the letting go, the stripping, the burying ourselves, the looking at ourselves becomes difficult. A lot of people don't like to ever look at themselves. They don't want to do what's the works. However, through that challenge is luck, the auspiciousness of the day, because it releases you. It releases us. It allows us to close one door while another door opens. All about unlayering, unmasking, splitting apart, letting go, delivers us. So, just a little bit more on the number 9 before we jump to the Sabian symbols. So it talks about the number 9 about being finality, fruitfulness, hidden, revealed. The hidden, revealed. When what has been concealed is revealed, there is fruitfulness, a harvest, evidence of unseen actions or processes. They're literally talking about the harvest, the end, the closing of a door, the opening of another. That open door is one that's on the other side of the mountaintop. It's on the other side of the old order of things. It's unknown to us. And it's being revealed because we haven't been there yet, right? We have not been there yet. So it reveals itself. They talk about the bringing of light of what has been hidden implies finality, the conclusion of something, or its final state. The old order of things, its final state. It speaks about, here it talks about how God made Jesus sin for us so we would become the righteous of God in him. The Bible consistently makes the connection between sin and death. Jesus gave up his spirit on the cross in the 9th hour. So it was also at the 9th hour that the consequence or fruitfulness of sin is revealed. The consequence or fruitfulness is deliverance, freedom from sin. And remember, we've talked about this before. In the tarot, the Devil card, enslavement, Exodus, enslavement, the releasing of imprisonment. And we can see how in our current lives, our current way of being, the current order of things, we have been, in essence, enslaved. Look at how in our own individual lives, no, I can't be what I want to be, or I can't do what I said I would want to do, or I can't follow my heart, my soul, my passion, because. Those are all forms of enslavement. They're all stories we tell ourselves. When our knowing, our soul, our knowing, knows what it wants, knows what we're to do. And we've spent a long time with the ego mind personality leading. And this is moving us. The new order of things is where soul source connection, heart, mind, body, soul, it's all in unity. You're going to see this. I'm going to bring this image up. It is the winged triangle. We see it as the capstone to the pyramid. It can be the eye of providence, in essence, and it is completion. When you look on the US $1 bill, you see it on the back. You see this image where the pyramid has 13 base layers, and then the capstone is floating above it. It is not readily on it. It is floating above the 13 base layers. And here you can see how this image is about the higher octave. It is about the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, and it's unity, our unity in coming back together with it, because we've come again. Yes, I can see it in my mind's eye. Yes, the Devil card in the tarot, and you see the nude male and female figure chained, enslaved. And we then move to the Lover's card, which is they're free, they're unshackled, they are liberated, and they're radiant, they're joyful, they're radiant, they're happy. And so you can see that this is talking about, so what was the consequence or the fruitfulness in the 9th hour? Deliverance is revealed. The deliverance of sin, the deliverance of our sins. We're being freed from that enslavement. It also talks about one way in which we connect to the Creator to affect a changed life is through prayer. The 9th hour is the hour of prayer, but is also the hour that Jesus died. The timing of the final moment of his life on earth, the 9th hour, symbolized that he made possible the ultimate connection between us and the Creator, prayer. What was concealed, God's redemption of mankind, was at last revealed. And there's a beauty here. Remember that there's a famous scene in the temple in Jerusalem where Master Jesus arrives, and in the outer court, so there's the Holy of Holies, then their next outer rim was for all the male Hebrew males. The next outer court, female, all the female Hebrews, Jews, and then the outside court was for all of the Gentiles. And what took place, Jesus arrives, and here that the outside court that is meant for the Gentiles to be in communion with higher source was all the money changers. It was like a bazaar. And he flips the tables. He turns the tables, and he basically clears that, because he's saying to them, you have, in essence, corrupted, are corrupting people from reaching you. And again, no matter what religion, it's not from a religious place that I'm speaking, it's from a spiritual place that says, no matter your faith, there's a higher soul source connection. And Master Jesus' message in that moment was, you, each one of us, is connected. We go direct. We go direct, quote unquote, to the Father. We go direct, soul source connection. And thereby, and they were blocking people from doing that. They were blocking people from receiving what is divinely and rightly ours. Soul source GPS guidance. And thereby, and this is where we give power away. We've given our power away. Because, powers that be don't want people to be enlightened. They don't want people, they want you enslaved. They don't want you liberated and free mind. But again, free mind, with great power comes great responsibility. It's not about just being able to do whatever you want, when you want, how you want, to whom you want. That's not the moral of the gift of our divinity. The moral is to listen, to connect to it, and go as guided. Even when our ego, mind, personalities are afraid, don't want to, but our knowing shows us the way. It demonstrates the way, not a way, the way. So, and it also speaks to, and there's a lot of things that can tie to the 9, are the gestation period for humans, 9 months, 9. There's so many things that are connected with 9. And the other one that I find incredibly beautiful is that in gematria, the word, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, ems or ems, E-M-E-S, meaning truth. So in gematria, the word truth equals 9. Specifically, the gematria of ems is 441. When you add that together, of course, it becomes a 9. So 9 represents the number of truth. And it says, not only does truth reduce to 9, but the Hebrew spelling of truth contains the first, middle, and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Hebrew teachers suggest that something that is true cannot be altered and must be true throughout, from beginning to middle to end. Like our awesome source, truth is immutable. And interestingly, the number 9 implies this reality in the natural through, pardon me, I'm trying to get my screen to move here, through mathematics. So there's this beauty in the fact that 9 represents truth. And truth is immutable. The truth is the truth is the truth is the truth. There's always the truth. From there, we can branch off, but it's got to be, and the truth, there's a beautiful quote that says, the truth becomes a part of your past, a lie, your future. Because the truth speaks for itself. It needs no explanation. It simply is. Anything that is less than that, or a lie, becomes a part of your future because you're having to keep up the lie. when the truth speaks for itself. It's readily apparent. So we've got the 9 plane of this harvest moment. We've got the 23, the splitting apart. We've got the Libra equinox here coming up Thursday and Friday. We've got the Libra new moon. And remember, Libra, the symbol for Libra is the scales of justice, the balance, the harmony. And at the top of the hour, we're talking about how we're out of balance, we're out of harmony, dis-ease. So you can see where these are all, and where they were just bringing it back into, where 18, because today is 18, which becomes the 9. The 18 is repairing what's spoiled. It's decay. It's repairing what's spoiled. Enslavement, spoiled, out of alignment, out of harmony. It's decay. And that's the point. Remember, they said, we're either arcing forward. It's a 6-year. Conflict, destiny. Are we in conflict? Are we in chaos? And conflict and chaos can be purposeful. It's how we use it. Are we adding to the chaos? Are we adding to the conflict? Are we adding to the confusion? Lies? Is that where we are? Or are we actively, proactively releasing all of that, releasing, splitting apart, repairing what's spoiled, letting go of it so as to arrive somewhere new? And remember, I'm going to bring it up. Here's that image of these sunflowers, these radiant sunflowers. That's the new. That is literally the image of the new. You can feel it. It's palpable. It makes me smile from the inside out. It is radiant and beautiful. So let us go to, and let me just bring in some of your comments here. Elizabeth says, I think I am getting sent healers this week. Health-wise, I feel good. I'm taking it all, but wonder what the lesson is. The thing they're saying, Elizabeth, in this moment, the word that's coming is release, release, release. Keep releasing. Keep letting go of anything that resembles lack, fear, indecision, things that undermine your foundation. And this is true for all of us. Elizabeth is beautifully asking this question because the lesson is in the splitting apart, is in the letting go, while simultaneously knowing, it's more than just believing, knowing that your soul chose freedom, deliverance, liberation, full spectrum ability, capabilities, that we have it all. We truly do have it all. It's simply, it's like, are we sitting in the analogy they're giving me, and you're going to see how this is interesting. It's a car analogy. Are we sitting in the car? Are you even in the car? And this is for everybody. I'm answering Elizabeth's comment and question. However, it applies to everyone. Because the question is, but wonder what the lesson is. So the lesson is, it's a knowing. And is our knowing, are we in the car? Are we even in the car? If we're in the car, is the car running? If you're in the car and the car is running, is the car in neutral? If you're in the car and the car is running, and the car is in neutral, have you put it in drive? Are you moving forward? Or are you in the car is on, and instead of neutral, you're in reverse? Clinging to the past, forward. But are you in the car, is the car on, and have you placed the car in drive? Because that's the lesson. The lesson is realizing the car is your vessel. The car is on, it's your soul source connection. And to place it in drive means you're going as guided. You're not stuck in neutral, and you're not going in reverse. And yes, sometimes reverse is purposeful. I'm in a dead-end street. I went down a road that led me nowhere, wasn't for me. Okay, then we back up. However, we don't go about life through the rear view mirror. It's a tiny, it's tiny. There's a full windscreen in front of us so that we get the openness, the full vantage point of moving forward. And so these things are important to us as we're doing that, is to know that we've got it in drive. Ian is commenting, 2 9s next to each other, 1 up, 1 down, become yin yang as well. Beautiful discernment, Ian. So you can see the perfect balance, the perfect harmony, the purity of light and dark, of the light and the void. Because remember, it's not about eradicating darkness. It's not about eradicating our shadow. It's not about hating ourselves. It's about purifying ourselves. It's always about purifying. There is great benefit and purpose. We come from the void. From the void, there's light. So we are intrinsically, the void is intrinsically, even though the void is referred to as chaos, look at the beauty of when the chaos is balanced. From this chaos, from this raw source of power, refined power is created. So when the spirit moves through us, when the raw force of spirit, soul source connection moves through us, it's refined because it's coming through us. If we think we're doing it, that's ego, mind, personality, we're in trouble. When we know what's coming through us is coming from a higher source, we're able to precipitate it from the 4th dimension. We are able to effectuate our heart's desire. It's because all of those things are in alignment, and we know the purity of the void, the raw power, is bringing through us the deliverance of refined power, goodness, all of these things that it spoke to at the top of the hour about how 9 represents the gifts of the Holy Spirit and those things that were mentioned. That's what comes through. It can't be any other way. What trips us up is when the ego, mind, personality leads, gets in the way in front of that, preempts things, or denies it completely, says it's me that's doing it. The I. But there's an all-seeing eye. There's the third eye, there's the all-seeing eye, and then there's the eye of the personality. So let me jump in. Elizabeth is saying, good points to think about. I think I'm learning to drive a stick shift this week. It's perfect. It's perfect because to drive a stick shift, you have to really be in flow. It's a knowing. You know when to change gears. You know if you need to put it in neutral. You know when you need to downshift or upshift. You know, I'm going to give you this beautiful story. I was in France. I was there, and I went to rent a car. And I said, you know what? I really want, I believe I said either a white or a silver Mercedes for this weekend jaunt. I show up. And when I said, and I want GPS. And I show up, and the woman starts to give me something. I said, don't you have, and she goes, well, you know what? We have a white Mercedes and with GPS, and I'll just give it to you. And I was like, that's so cool. Off I went. I go to the parking garage where the car is. I get in. I go to leave, and it's a stick shift. Now and all of a sudden, this car, I cannot get this car in reverse. And it keeps rolling forward to where the front of the car is now up against the wall of the parking structure. And I'm like, well, wow. And I'm thinking, do I open the door and put my foot down and push back, and put it in neutral and push back? Because somehow I'd like to get on my journey. And yet I can't get this car in reverse. Until I finally realized that instead of over and down for reverse, it was up and over. It was the opposite. You had to push down and move it up and over. So in essence, and I was literally in my head kind of, complaining, like, really? Like you couldn't have given me an automatic is what I said. And what I heard back was, you didn't ask for one. And I went, true enough. I'd asked for a whiter silver Mercedes with GPS. And that's exactly what I got. What I had to learn was a new way of operating, a new way of understanding, coupled with I hadn't asked for an automatic. So sharing that with you because they wanted me to throw that in. We need to be clear about our intentions, the purity of our intentions, what we're asking for. And in the moment, even when we believe we've asked for everything and we haven't, it's purposeful. It was about a new way of doing something, about a new way of learning, because what I knew was a different way. It was demonstrating a new way, and I couldn't embark until I learned that new way. So let me jump in really quickly here. I'm mindful of the time and your time. So I want to go to the beauty of these Sabian symbols that correspond with all of the dates. And so, the moral of the story here is, and I'm going to start with Venus. The moral of the story here, I'm going to read the keynotes to these. So with Venus, it talks about a caravan of cars headed to the West Coast. They just gave us this beautiful analogy of two different analogies of how a car and the journey. And it says the keynote is the need of cooperative effort in reaching any new world of experience. What you're going to see with these symbols over and over again, new world, new way, new dimension, it's all talking about the new. And in this one, it says, it is difficult to know from the original formulation of the clairvoyance vision the type of caravan, pardon me, I have to adjust my screen here, of cars that was visualized. What seems to be clearly implied is a process in which a group of persons are journeying together, thus linking their consciousnesses and energies, the car symbol, in order to safely reach the goal of destiny. Conflict, destiny. Here, there is no longer any sense of competition, but an ordered and structured endeavor. In this last sequence, the past is entirely left behind. Men, women cooperate in the great adventure in consciousness, in a totalization of purpose and effort. A new world experience, a coming together to reach in consciousness and energies to reach the goal of destiny, the next octave, the open door, the higher, the unenslaved, the deliverance, and this totalization of purpose and effort. The degree for Pluto, pilgrims climbing the steep steps leading to a mountain shrine, the ascent of the individualized consciousness to the highest realizations reached by the spiritual leaders of its culture. We hear a great deal now about peak experiences, but this symbol tells us that they depend to a very great extent upon following a path that many have trod before under the inspiration of the great teachers and sages of our race. The shrine is built by the unceasing dedication of perhaps generations of men and women the pilgrimage, the journey, the pilgrimage is hallowed. It's sacred by the devotion of many, even though each person finds on their own mountaintop what to them seems a unique and transcendent revelation. In this symbol, we witness the rise of the human consciousness. The preceding symbol spoke of what one may picture as the descent of the energies of nature, which, like water, flow down toward a lower level of intensity. It is man-woman's supreme task to rise like fire. They've talked to us about baptism by fire, impelled by a vision they share with their companions. The key word is upreaching. So an up-leveling, an upreaching that we have been striving. And remember, they said to us last week, the week before, our whole focus has been on the journey up the mountain. Remember the Jiggurats, the Tower of Babel. They built the Tower of Babel because they wanted to get back to heaven, back to source, back to God. And they said, well, let us scatter them. Let us confuse their tongues and scatter them so they'll go have this human experience. Because at the time of the Tower of Babel, everyone spoke the same language. All of a sudden, we're dispersed. So here's this upreaching. We've been focused on climbing the mountain, getting to there's the apex, the winged eye of providence, the capstone. We've been focused on climbing the mountain, getting to the peak. But remember, the ideal that was embodied in that, the ideal of heaven on earth and this very enlightened state of being, that ideal is the new reality. We're no longer separated from it. We're no longer searching for it, striving for it, trying to get to it. And this is really saying you are either of that lot, meaning of that destiny, or you're not done with the lesson. Elizabeth was saying, what's the point? I wonder what the lesson is. Are you done with this lesson? Are you ready to move into the new? Are you ready to release the enslavement, the lessons of detachment, separation, enslavement, and so forth? Because the new, the ideal of the old order, is the reality in the new order. I absolutely love this one. This is the Uranus. And this is very interesting too, these major outer planets. Uranus, and expect the unexpected. A new continent rising out of the ocean. The surge of new potentiality after the crisis. You see how all of these words, new continent, upreaching, new dimension, new. And it says the symbol need hardly be commented upon. When the mind has been emptied and light has been called upon to purify the consciousness, freed from its attachment and contaminations, a new release of life can emerge out of the infinite ocean of potentiality, the virgin space. What will it be used for? And remember, they talked to us about airing out the purse, the handbag, and they talked to us about this and this virgin space that is, bringing it up really quickly, the star card, the soma, the waters, the living waters, the waters of life. That's the virgin space. That's the ocean of potentiality. And it says, we find in this symbol a suggestion of how to approach whatever new phase of life has been not only hoped for, but actually confirmed. The technique is simply to allow the infinite potential to operate in unconstrained spontaneity. This means to have reached a state in which the conscious, rational ego is no longer a controlling factor. That's a mic drop moment, sums it all up. It's literally The way to, we've said this many times, surrender, 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 allow, 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 keep allowing, be unconstrained in your spontaneity, go as guided, not what your mind is telling you, but what your knowing is showing you. And a knowing is, you can get it in an instant. You just know. It's a knowing. It needs no thought. It's like the truth. The knowing is the truth. You just know. Boom. There's nothing that's disconnected from it, separated from it. And the only thing that will kick in, typically, is fear, which is what institutes or gets the mind going, which attempts and then overrides the soul source connection, or this unconstrained spontaneity. But it means to have reached a state in which the conscious, rational ego is no longer a controlling factor. Big. Here, because you can't make it up, I'm going to bring up the image while I'm talking about it. Jupiter, the great benefactor, Jupiter, a triangle with wings, the capacity for self-transcending. This is the symbol of the desire to reach a higher level of existence, of pure aspiration or devotion, or of bhakti. What has emerged in the first phase of the process of differentiation is becoming aware of the possibility of further upreachings. The other symbol is upreaching. The principle of levitation is seen as one of the two essential factors in evolution. Remember, a few shows back, they were literally talking to us about Aladdin, the magic carpet, how back in the day of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, there was all of these things about levitation, the magic carpet. And it's talking about these as being factors in evolution. The emergent being glorifies and deifies it, but it is still only an ideal at this stage. Nevertheless, the whole being experiences a childlike longing for its eventual realization. At this point, the last synthesizing stage of the first fivefold unit in the cyclic process is reached. A new dimension, in capital letters, a new dimension of being is envisioned, mobilizing creative endeavors. So this new dimension is envisioned. New beginnings abound. Look all around you. Look within you. It's envisioned, mobilizing creative endeavors. It comes through us. And two more. Saturn, the great teacher. A large white dove bearing a message. The keynote is the answer of spiritual agencies to thorough, sustained, and victorious individual efforts. This concludes most significantly this series of 5 symbols. The individual who has gone courageously and with indomitable spirit through her crucial crisis, enslavement, life, the experiences, receives, as it were, a deep spiritual blessing from the soul realm. Mission accomplished. Peace be with you. Remember how they said, I believe last week, number 8, the last thing was peace. Peace be with you. And in the blessing, a secret prophecy of what is yet to come may be seen by the perspicacious and spiritually sensitive mind of the recipient. Every real spiritual step a man-woman takes in her devotion and development is the result of a victory over forces of inertia or destruction. The divine is totally present in the heart of all true victories. This last symbol in the 4th series, this is the last symbol in the 4th series. What the message is depends on the particular situation, but the white dove always signifies peace. At the very heart of this peace is the certification of individual worth and victory. Elizabeth was asking, what's the lesson? And they said, worth, value, victory. It's the certification of this. It's the absolute knowing and realization and knowing this is mine. And through my sustained and victorious individual efforts, through my splitting apart, through my surrender, through my allowing, through my letting go, through my looking at myself, through that journey, deep spiritual blessings from the soul realm, mission accomplished. Peace be with you. You've earned it. It's yours. And as it said, the door opens and no man can shut it. The door opens. I've opened a door for you that no man can shut. God, Spirit, Source is saying, that's the door. Your value, your worth, your victory is the open door. Your deliverance is the open door. And it's yours. And no man, woman, no human may deprive you of that. And remember too, Noah's time. It was the dove with the olive branch that signified, and it says the door was closed up. Remember, it talks about all of those, they were laughing at Noah. You're a fool, you don't know what you're talking about, nothing's going to ever come, there's going to be no flood. It would be like now people saying, there's no new world, there's no new way, there's nothing new. You're delusional. And yet when God, Source, closed up the door of the ark, there were those that came running at the door, and they said to us, don't be late to the party. Be on time. Don't be late to the party. Because when the door is shut, the door is closed. It's Source, it's God, it's Source that opens and closes the door. We, of free will, go one of two ways. Forward or backward. To the new, aligned with the new, in anticipation and excitement of the new, or clinging and cleaving and trying to get to the past. And last but not least, before I take some of your final comments and everything, this then is the symbol. So all of those symbols are for the Libra equinox that I just read to you. This one is for the Libra new moon. It is Libra 3 degrees, and it says, the dawn of a new day reveals everything changed. The keynote is the ever-present possibility of beginning again on a new foundation of values. And let me bring this back. The symbol hardly needs to be interpreted except for pointing out that these first three symbols beginning, because this is Libra 3, there are two symbols before it, that these first three symbols beginning the second hemicycle of this cyclic process should be seen as a basic trinity. You've seen there's the 21, the 3, the 9th hour, 3 at 3 p.m., the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, the triangle, three-sided triangle with wings, 3. It can be related to the process of true initiation. 1, the experience of the undying form of perfection. 2, the release of the energy incorporated in the form in order to reach that which is beyond form and name, Source. And 3rd, the re-embodiment of energy in a new creative act. This 3rd stage leads us to a vision of the fulfilled purpose of the first half of the cycle. What emerged hesitantly from the ocean of infinite potentiality now faces a totally new world in a truly individualized form of existence. He or she is ready to act significantly in the sphere of culture and social togetherness, the sphere in which an individual, aware of his/her archetypal essence and planetary function, can play his/her true role, dharma. We can literally be who we know to be, live our lives, align with it, lead with it. We are no longer bound by the ego mind, the separation, the lack, the fall. In a basic sense, it is always a new role. 4, no cycle repeats itself as far as its contents are concerned. The person who plays this role is always potentially, quote unquote, an innovator. So these are literally, the beauty and the messaging could not be more clear. The new, the new, the new, the new, the new. It doesn't mean we don't see the old. It doesn't mean that we don't know that it exists, or we're, living, unconsciously or anything. It simply means we know the new is arriving. There is a new way, a new order, and it's the way. And while this, like it just said, while we may repeat, like things are, the contents is never identical. So even like the symbols, we repeat the symbols, right? And yet the context that they are in is never the same. So this Libra equinox, this Libra new moon, this Rosh Hashanah, this Yom Kippur, this lucky auspiciousness, the luck auspiciousness of the day, of this time is upon us. It's a bridge month. It's a transition month. It is a harvest month. Don't be late to the party. And, really search a total eclipse of the heart. Search your heart. Where are you? What do you truly desire? And should it be the future? Align with that. In every moment, in every thought, action, do your best to align and be ready for that so as to move effortlessly, easily, and freely through to that moment. That is what's on offer. And it's very interesting because, of course, next week, 9/28 to 8, it becomes a 10. And they're talking to us about 9 symbolizes divine completeness, finality. So what occurs next week? What occurs? How are things changed? How are we changed as we move into October? I just want to pick up some of your last comments. Elizabeth, love your story and being open to learning new ways. Yeah, it was to this day. That happened many years ago, and to this day I still laugh, and it came up. Ian is talking about like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill only to see it roll back down. Don't want to live your life that way. Exactly. Because again, the walking uphill of the journey, when we are in alignment with soul source connection, it is effortless. When we're not, it's the example that Ian just gave us. It's pushing a boulder. It feels like we're pushing a boulder up a hill. Brigitte, is fear a program? No, fear is an energy. Fear, like everything, love is an energy, fear is an energy, and again, it's how we utilize that energy that that creates our experience. And fear, typically, one of two things. It either propels you forward. You'll get that nervous fear. You'll get that excitable, nervous, but it's fear. You know to do it, but you're worried about it, but you know, and it's excitable. So it's in essence, a positive aspect of the energy of fear, and it propels you forward. Or fear will immobilize you. It will, because the shadow element, the shadow side of the energy of fear is the one you're aligned with, and it's immobilizing you. I often say, they have said to me over and over again, fear is your friend. So, and with the moral of the story being, first recognize fear is energy. then secondly, utilize the positive aspect of fear so as to propel you forward, so as to move you, because otherwise it immobilizes you. It keeps you down, back, frightened, enslaved, encapsulated. And that's a shadow element of fear. It's a shadow energy of fear. Elizabeth, fear fantasizing events appearing real. So again, everything is divine and neutral, and it is up for us, to each of us, in our day-to-day experiences, to see through the fear. Because let's say we see an event happening, or we fear that something's going to happen. Well, we can instantly see that we're in the shadow of the fear. We're utilizing the shadow energy of fear because we're fearing the event appearing, which means we're not in the openness of receiving, of seeing its divine nature, even and especially when it's most painful or hard. When we move through fear to the other side, to the catalyst energy of fear, well, then we're able to see the event with divine neutrality. It doesn't mean we condone it. It doesn't mean that we wanted it to happen. It simply means that we are in divine neutrality with it, so that we can receive what's under it, what's deep within, what's under the fear. Then we receive the divinity of it, the bounty of it, because we're in a more clear, pure state of being with that energy. Anne is saying, could you please post a link later? This is really fascinating, and I would love to read more. Yes, what I will do is I will post all of the Sabian symbols that I just spoke about, so you all can read them in the actual show thread. So you'll be able to see those. Brigitte, I had a white dove come up in a Reiki session I just had. There you go. Peace be with you. It is to reconnect to your purity, to this state of grace and peace, and to the promise. I mean, that is God's source. That is the promise. Deliverance. And that the deliverance, what's delivered, is this purified state of being. It's the ideal. The reality is the ideal. It's what we've been striving to get back to. It's what we've been striving to attain. And up to this point, the order of things has been that experience. Now, what's unknown to us, because we haven't experienced it yet in this lifetime, if you will, is, well, now what is it going to be like when that is the actual ideal, when that is the way of things? That we operate in this wholeness, this peace, and how we go about our lives, and we lead them from our soul source connection, because it's all the winged triangle. It's all one. It operates as one. They're not disconnected. Brigitte is also saying, I hear a lot about the tri-wave in the unified field. So yes, again, the triumvirate, tri-wave, the Trinity, the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, this unified field, and how things will come in waves, which is why they said, don't be late to the party. Noah, there were those that already knew. They knew to do it. Their knowing, their faith, their knowing led them, guided them, while others ridiculed. But they sure wanted to be on the ark, and they sure wanted to be at the party once the doors closed. But at that point, didn't happen. Yes, and so lastly, the acronym that Elizabeth is sharing, FEAR, face everything and rise. Yes, yes, yes. Because we can, we will, and it is a matter of divine will and choice. And just before I let you all go, it's the very last one, which is where the sun is for this Libra equinox. And it talks about, it's Virgo 28, a bald-headed man who has seized power. The keynote is the sheer power of personality in times that call for decision. And the beauty of this is it talks about how even the most beautiful let me just get to it, I apologize. At such times, the issue has to be met, and ruthless as the power may appear, it must be accepted. This symbol, we face the unpostponable necessity for decision and transformation. Existence is motion. No static formation, however beautiful and inspiring, can remain long unchallenged. Everything bows to the power of the will. Divine, executively human, or satanic. So what this is saying is everything bows to the power of the will. And this is where I was saying, where is your will? Which one is your will aligned with? Divine will? Human will? Or dark will? Satanic dark will? Because you have to pick one. And that's what's so amazing about this, because it's a time that calls for decision. It's a time it can't be postponed. Out of necessity, the old order dies, the old order, the closing of one door, and the opening of another. And what delineates your experience is your will. Soul source, divine will, ego, mind, personality will, executively human, or dark. Which one of those three wills are you aligning with? And that will dictate your experience. Thank you all so very much for this, for bearing with me. I know it's been a much longer show, and I apologize. There was a lot here to get to and share with all of you. So I will put all of this in the show thread. Thank you, Kelly, and have a wonderful week as well. And I cannot wait. Thank you all for joining. And I cannot wait to see what they say next week as we bridge this this month, and the luck and auspiciousness of the day, of the time, of the era, in this moment. Thank you all so much. Love you dearly, and I will see you next week.